next question is rather lengthy, so bear with me. The 241 acres recently sold by the town of Ocean Isle Beach to Stanley Martin Homes was not de-annexed before it was sold. The developer recently submitted for approval a planned unit development where 649 residential units will be built if approved. Depending on the number of homeowners who choose to register to vote in Brunswick County, the Tides development could potentially increase the number of voters in our town elections by more than 649 votes. That would greatly exceed the number of votes typically cast during our elections. Should, in your opinion, this parcel have been de-annexed before it was sold to avoid this issue? And please explain your answer.
The sale of the property out on Georgetown Road happened last year, and the property was already in the city limits during the sale of the property. So the cow is out of the barn. The ship has already sailed there, and so if the question is, what do we need to do to get it de-annexed now, I prefer to focus on another direction there. From what I've learned already about de-annexation, we, the town council and the town, can't orchestrate a start on that. The people that own the property are the ones that have to start that process. So being that I don't think they're probably going to be interested in doing that, what I would like to focus on is bring some of the UNC School of Government people into the council room and educate us on how to set up voting districts. In other words, do we do it by population, or what different opportunities are there to set up voting jurisdictions? So in essence, there would be X number of town seats from the persons that had the largest population. So many municipalities do that, and I think that's where we're going to head. The second thing that pops in my mind is it's going to be years, multiple years, before there's going to be 600 houses over there, and we've got time to figure this out and do the right thing so we can all get equal representation when it comes to the voting. Thank you.
My understanding is that the developer of that property or whomever owns the property going forward would have to be the one to push any de-annexation. That would have to be something that they asked to do. I suspect they didn't want to be in the county. If I had to guess, I would say there's a real good chance they wanted to be part of our town for a number of reasons. Primarily because we're easier to work with than the county, in my opinion, on a lot of things. And when it comes to permitting and getting things done in a timely fashion, I see our town staff and the town of Ocean Isle Beach as being much more attractive to a developer. That said, I agree with Dave. Being more forward-thinking as to how we're going to handle what has already happened is more critical in my mind. For example, it might be 2 years before the first shovel of dirt is turned. There'll be a while before anything is done out there. But one of the other issues that goes along with this, besides just that parcel of land, is everything around it. All these other developments up and down Old Georgetown Road, out on 17, towards Shallotte, all those people are going to be coming to Ocean Isle Beach. So whether it's 240 acres or more off Old Georgetown Road, if that's our focus, we need to take care of that and prepare for infrastructure and services that those people are definitely going to get. But there are a lot of other people too. So it's a much bigger problem from a services standpoint than just that parcel of land. But I prefer to focus on going forward with it.
As I mentioned in the last forum, it was not de-annexed, and the town never requested it to be annexed, even though they were the actual property owners. And my understanding is that the property owner has to, or the owners of the development or whatever, has to be the ones to request a de-annexation. It was said recently in one of the town meetings that there was no one that mentioned any concerns about getting it de-annexed during the whole time of the sale of the property. But looking back, I found a planning board meeting where some of the planning board members were concerned about that, and it was still during the due diligence time, so they still had time to de-annex that. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. It didn't get presented to the town. We did not get all the information to show concerns, and that's another question. Is we need more information. The citizens need to be educated on what's going on with an issue to show that there may be concerns about that. But now that it's a done deal, we're going to have to move forward. We're going to have to figure out ways to deal with serving them out there with the police, the fire, and all the infrastructure. Someone in one of the town meetings, one of the commissioners, said it brings in more tax revenue. Well, that's true, but does that offset the cost of those services that we're going to have to provide there too? So we also have to think about possibly doing voting districts eventually, because they may outnumber us up to 1,200 voters possibly, and we have to, they may have a different set of priorities than we do on the island, and with that island state of mind. And so time? Okay, thank you.
I think the original question was, would I have been in favor of selling the property as part of the city limits? And the answer is no, I wouldn't. And would I, quite frankly, going forward, I would want to de-annex anything before we sold it. And I think we all know why, because we have heard horror stories about the other towns around and the problems that they have. With that being said, there are a couple of things to think about. One, our own island population is growing, okay? So, I think our voter rolls are around over 800 now. So, and it's going to continue to grow as more people cycle down here and become residents. I know my next door neighbor has just moved their locality to Ocean Isle from Wake Forest. The other thing is, I think, like David said, it's going to be many years before could be many years before it's built out. And the other thing to consider is of the 649 homes, might be that they're second homes. Some of them are second homes for people. They're rental property for people. So we can't just make the assumption that they're all going to be occupied by two residents to outvote us. So I do think that we do need to consider alternative plans such as districting. I think that's a great idea. But my hair is not on fire about this right now. I think we have time to diligently look into how to deal with this situation. Okay.
Bob Williams. Well, you got to play the hand you were dealt, and we've been dealt a hand, and we're going to have to make the best out of it. I don't know that I totally agree that it's not going to happen anytime soon, because there's a big investment. These investors, they're going to want to see a return on their investment, and I think it'll be built quicker than you think it will. One thing, the whole time I've always been down here and mentioned something like, should we annex Crown Street? The answer has always been no, we don't want any more voters. How this happened, I don't know, and it don't matter. It happened, and now we got to deal with it. And I agree with everybody that has said we got to go forward and take a positive approach, because we got it to work it out. And I don't know how, I don't know. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of study, but it can be, I guess it can be done. Anyway, it is what it is, and we got to deal with it.
So to answer the question, would I have agreed to that sale? No, and I probably talked to 100 of our residents so far, and I asked them two questions. The first question was, did you know about the sale and that it included the voting rights? And every single person has said no. The second question I asked was, if you were making that deal, would you make that deal? 3 people have said maybe, depends on other factors, but the vast majority, everybody else said no, they would not have made that deal. Regarding the de-annexing, everybody's correct. We can request, actually, the town could request to de-annex the property. However, the assembly does not look kindly on those requests. I am told by UNC School of Government that if the owner makes the request, frequently those requests are accepted and approved. I reached out to Stanley Martin Homes and finally got a call back after a couple of weeks from their director of land acquisition for the coastal area, and had a nice conversation, very nice young man, about 36 years old. And he was surprised that there was any sort of a problem with this deal because he had been told that Ocean Isle Beach was just giddy about the sale. And so I explained to him what was going on. I gave him the example of Sunset Beach, and he promised me that he would go back. He was going to talk to the engineer. He was going to talk to the VP of sales and then see, if they could do anything. So it's a Hail Mary, but we have to at least try the Hail Mary because that takes the whole problem off of the table and we don't have to worry about it. If we do indeed have to worry about this problem, I do not agree that it will be a long period of time. When the 2030 census comes out, districts will have to be drawn based upon the population of this area. And if the population in that development exceeds the population on the island, then districts will have to reflect that discrepancy. So that you cannot create a false majority assembly. So what I would look for just very quickly is some way during the time that we have to get infrastructure in place that is important to the residents of Ocean Isle before those things could be voted away.